Hello, welcome back to Oliver's greenhouse. Now it's a beautiful day here. We're expecting temperatures as high as 27 degrees centigrade, so it's going to be absolutely scorching. Pretty sure the sun's already obliterating my receding hairline. Anyway, so I've taken the initiative to have a little bit of time this morning to make a video. I've moved my king sundews outside. The kids are playing in the back garden. That's probably what you can hear in the background. And these guys are glistening, looking beautiful. It's a great opportunity for them to catch some food before going back in the greenhouse a bit later on tonight. And we've also got a well-developing flower spike as well on one of these. So I'll pick you guys up. We'll have a little bit of a closer look at these dewy beauties. Okay, so right in front of us, we've got my two lovely king sundews. This is the guy who I accidentally killed the high vernacular, the growth tiff on it died, and I accidentally left it out in some horrendously harsh weather this year. That's why we can see this brown peg here by my finger. It died, but the whole thing grew back from the roots despite being exposed to accidental temperatures of -7, so it got hyper cold, and since then it's turned into like a massive bush of king sundew. It's been catching plenty of prey because it was out here the other day as well. So it's caught. There's quite a few flies stuck to its leaves. We can probably zoom in and find a few of those. And there's one there, sort of centre a shot. There's a few more as well, stuck just in front of us there. I think that's it. Oh, there's another one. So yeah, that's that guy. Now over here is the sundew that was gifted to me. I have to zoom out a little bit for this. This is my other king sundew. I was given this by Dan Evans, who I became friends with on Instagram. He's got a lovely collection of plants, and this one he handed on to me. It looks lovely, some nice tall leaves, and this is the guy we repotted, so it's looking really nice at the moment. And if we look down in the crown, if I turn it around a little bit, you should be able to see. There we have it, centre a shot. That is the flower spike which is developing, so I'm very excited about that. That's going to be fantastic. And now we should head into the greenhouse really and have a look at what's going on in there. There's not a lot in flower, but I've been up to a few bits and pieces where I think you might be interested in, so we're going to have a look at that now. It's also going to be that hot today that I think it's probably prudent to put the blinds down, because I think it's going to be just unbearably warm in the greenhouse very quickly, and I know things like the Nepenthes and a lot of the Utricularia are really going to appreciate having a bit of shade today. So this is only very Swiss Family Robinson, but it works. It just clips on over some screws that I've put in the roof here, but it does mean I can just roll them down. In fact, it's not particularly windy, so I could just let them flap about today. It's not going to make much of a difference. Okay, so here we are inside the greenhouse. Now this particular video is going to be dedicated to my late grandmother, who unfortunately passed away 2 weeks ago, which is partly why I wasn't uploading for the 2 weeks sort of either side of that event happening. So unfortunately, Oliver's greenhouse longest standing patron is no longer with us, but she was surrounded by everybody who loved her at the end. So what more can you ask for really at the end of the day? So on a slightly cheerier note, I've been doing some stuff in the greenhouse. So I've extended the orchid hanging wall to encompass the whole side of the greenhouse now, and I've also built it across the back wall here as well. So a lot of those plants which I got from Ecuagenera are now mounted over here. A few of them are sort of dotted around elsewhere in the greenhouse, but they're really sulking. I think it's coming straight to hot weather that's not done any favours whatsoever. I mean, it's good. The climate is excellent in the greenhouse at the moment. If I just check out the metering section of the greenhouse, which is located, as some of you already know, over on this wall here, it is currently reading, you won't be able to see it, 98.2% humidity, and it's 25 degrees centigrade. So it's good temperature in here. Certainly it shouldn't be any problem for those plants which I've got, but I think it's just the shock of being on a plane, drying out, and then suddenly being reintroduced into an environment. I think they're just a bit, ugh. I think it's all just been a bit too much for them. So some of them, we've had some significant sort of leaf loss. Some of them are looking a little bit poorly. But I think they're going to be okay. Some of the other plants I got from Ecuagenera did something very, very similar as well. It's just because they have to travel such a geographical distance to get here, it's inevitable that they're going to sulk a little bit. And I haven't lost any of them. I've lost one actually, but we'll have a look at that. One of the Scaphosepalum just couldn't handle it. It was the one that I was saying when I was doing the unboxing video that I had doubts about it. Well, that one, surprise, surprise, has completely defoliated. So I don't think we're going to be seeing any future growth from that guy. Some of the others, the Dendrobium as well, kind of went, oh, what's happening to me? And it's dropped loads of leaves, and I don't know. There's some new growth on it though. I think it'll probably be all right. It'll probably just go down to about 4 leaves before it then grows back again. So we'll have to see about that. The Dryodellas are doing fine. The other Poroglossums are doing fine. I've noticed some yellowing on some of the leaves, but that's inevitable. We'll get round to that in a bit anyway and have a look at those. So I guess the first thing to do is have a look over here. There's some bits and pieces. I haven't watered this morning yet, so I might give things a bit of a spray as we go round, because then I'm sort of completing 2 tasks at the same time. I'm showing you guys around the greenhouse, and I'm also watering my plants. So I'll move you guys and we'll have a look. Okay, so immediately in front of us we've got some of my mounted orchids growing on this wall. We've got the Stanhopea, which is over here. This is one we repotted. This is the Stanhopea that I just can't grow because I like to try and kill it all the time. This big Bulbophyllum ambrosia, this is going to go on eBay quite soon because I've already got an absolutely monster one which is right next to the camera just here. This guy, it's already enormous. I don't need 2 of them. My Dendrobium dichioides, interestingly enough, is usually a bit of a sulky plant. This year is doing really well, and that's this guy who's just kind of hiding in here. So that's this guy here. So you can see got lots of new growth on here, and it's starting to extend even down here. So I'm very happy with that because in the past I've struggled with that. It just getting its growth conditions just wasn't as easy as I hoped it was going to be. And next to that is the little Pluritaris megalops. Lots of new leaves produced this year, and now it's getting hotter again in the greenhouse. It will basically stop growing and sulk because that's what it does every year. These are my Dicheas. These are the ones I got from Equigenera. And strangely enough, these guys have been absolutely fine. In fact, all the Dicheas I got from Equigenera have been completely fine. No signs of, a few leaves dropped, but as a rule, no worries at all. Up the top here, this is another Stelis. This is Stelis bizarrula. And this guy was sort of plodding along. It was growing in a pot, and I was just like, I want to mount you. I want to mount you so bad. And so I slapped him on this guy, on one of my homemade DIY mounts, and it is just taken off. No flowers yet. I was hoping to see some flowers this year, but it's only been on it's been on this mount for about, I don't know, 8 months probably. So we might not see anything yet, but lots and lots and lots of new growth on there. So he's doing okay. This is Bulbophyllum maximum, which I don't like growing Bulbophyllums on cork mounts because they do this, and it's growing over there. Oh, in fact, you can't even see it. Here we go, start again. So this is Bulbophyllum maximum. It's growing on this piece of cork, which I don't like growing them on because they do this, that I'm going to grow on the inside of your greenhouse rather on this piece of nice damp cork on which you mounted me, which is slightly frustrating. A bit of it fell off at the beginning of the year as well, and I've put that in a little pot, so that's also plodding away. We're slowly getting over onto Bulbophyllum barbagirum. That's this guy here. This guy's doing really well. Lots of new growth this year already. I just wish I could get it to flower. I just think it's too cold in the greenhouse. Stelis, this isn't Stelis, this is Isabelia virginalis. My really big one. This is the one that I remounted. So I unmounted it and remounted it, and that's just there. And that's doing really well. Doing really well. And there's lots of new growth. In fact, we can get a few of these down. And for those of you who've been watching my channel, have been supporting my channel with views for a long time, some of you remember I have a Neolucia Pachella, which I've never really got on well with. I've just basically been having a really good go at trying to kill it over the last few years that I've owned it. So it was down to like 1 pseudo bulb, and we unmounted it, and I popped it on this cork slab with a little bit of sphagnum moss. Since then it's really taken off. I hope it's going to focus on it. There we go. So yeah, it's really grown really well. Got some nice new roots coming from it. No signs of any flower spikes yet this year, but I'm confident that it will flower. So it's really taken off. It's much happier on this mount than it ever was in any of the pots, and I honestly thought there was a good chance we're going to be losing this plant. So well done you. We saved that guy, and he lives up there next to the Isabelia, which he's very closely related to. Okay, Centre is shot. These things I do very well with. This is Scaphosepalum marinoi, and this is growing on the tiniest piece of cork. I don't know how it survives. You can see one of the flowers, which is just up here. But it does, it flowers and it thrives and it produces loads of new leaves, even though it's growing on a piece of cork about the size of a postage stamp. It does seem to just sort of plug along very well, although the plan is to basically move all of these onto the back hanging wall, because I think they're going to be much happier there. They've got more room to present their flower spikes in a more natural manner. Hopefully this is going to zoom in on this guy. This is Schoenorchis Scaphosepalum, named after the centipede. And this is another one I unmounted and remounted because it was just super sulky, didn't like what it was on beforehand. And I don't know if we're going to be able to focus on it because it's probably going to be too close. It might focus. You see, just by my finger there's a weird little nubbin. There's like a little bud emerging, so it's going to flower this year, which is going to be quite cool. It produces tiny little pink trumpet-like shaped flowers, which have, I don't think they smell. I can't remember actually, it's been such a while since I've seen it in bloom, so. But that's good news. That means it's happy. It's got the energy and can be bothered to flower, ergo we're probably doing something right with that guy. He sits over here next to all my Scaphosepalum, which all become entangled because they're big branching lunatics. Down below I've also got a load of Scaphosepalum here. I've got Gibberosum, which has got these huge flower spikes on. Get everything sort of centre of shot. There we go. So we've got lots of Scaphosepalum here. We've got Macrodactylum, Odontochilum, Gibberosum. This is Brevi, Digitail over the front here, which is in the process of opening up some flowers. We'll have a little look, see if we can get that on camera. I'll try. It's not going to be easy, okay? So this is Scaphosepalum Digitail. I'm going to try zooming in. Hold on to your backsides. Here we go. Right. Oh, you can just about see it there. So this is Scaphosepalum Digitail, and it's only a very small plant. It's only that big, but it produces surprisingly large flowers, which are in varying states of openness. These aren't quite right there yet, but they will be soon. When they open fully, these little white bits hang down either side of the flower. It's really quite attractive. So that guy's doing well, and I'm very pleased that we were able to focus in on those. So. Another plant which is doing exceptionally well in my care is this Poroglossum schrammii. It's produced loads and loads of flowers since we last did a video on it, and there's lots of flower spikes emerging all over the place, and it's got that fantastic lip which opens and closes when stimulated by a landing pollinating insect. Have a look at some of those. Let's stop them jiggering around. Some of those pretty flowers on there. There's loads of flower spikes emerging all over it, so we're going to see lots more blooms on that guy. It's pretty much a perpetual bloomer. Once it's up and running, it will just flower and flower and flower. This other Poroglossum, this is Amethystinum. I'm assuming it has a purple flower because of the species name Amethystinum, like amethyst. And this has actually produced a flower spike which has not yet come to anything, but hopefully will do soon. So also growing very well. What else have I got over here to show you? I guess we can pick up Gibberosum and have a look at some of these flowers. Just whilst you're zoomed in at that range, I can grab a whole handful of them to show you. I'll hold them about there. Hopefully you can see those guys without squashing them with my hands. So that's what they look like. Little flying insects, I think. Loads of those. That guy just flowers constantly. It's got so many, must have about 30 or 40 flowers on it at the moment. And a great plant. That's why I love Scaphosepalum. They're just so prolific. So prolific. Right, moving on. Okay, so I'm going to try and make this a little bit of a whistle-stop tour because there's not actually that much going on at the moment. Like I said, the temperature's only really started to increase to a enjoyable level within the last week, really. We've been sort of up and down here in the UK. So over the back we've got some mounted Bulbophyllum. There's Lasiochilum and a Wendlandianum over the back here. That's Lasiochilum there. And they've just become little ecosystems. There's so many mosses and liverworts and stuff growing on them that they've become like a little piece of almost like a cliff or side of tree. There's so much growing in those pots, but I'm going to have to repot them. There's a little vanilla orchid over the back there. That guy's growing great guns at the moment. Directly below us is the last of my Brassia chieftain, which has been in flower again this year. This thing's just a machine. Those flowers are now finishing and just going over. Slightly to the right, we've got my Dracula orchid, which we purchased or got from Equigena as well. And I've tucked him down here. It's quite near the swamp cooler, so he gets a lot of draft, and he's hiding away underneath the Brassia. So he's got some extra shade here as well. If he really starts to, I want to acclimatise him relatively slowly, but I want him to be almost able to sort of deal with being out and about out here. But if he starts to really sulk, it's going to go down underneath the bench with the New Zealand tree ferns. So that's my plan anyway. Over to the left, we've got giant Bulbophyllum lobii. That's produced some nice new growth this year. Over the back, interestingly enough, hopefully you guys can see those if I zoom in. There they are. That was my Bulbophyllum jersey. I've divided that into two. There's lots of new growth on both sections, and that's going to be, one section is going to be going up onto eBay quite soon. Over here, this is the old stinkeroo. There's Bulbophyllum echinolabium sort of hiding behind this big Bulbophyllum gibbosum over the back here. This got dropped, unfortunately, which is why you might be able to see there's a little bit of damage on that leaf just there, which is a shame, but it'll be all right. It'll be okay. Okay, so for some of you who may be interested, underneath the benches here, I've got some big Dicksonia antarctica. These are big New Zealand and Tasmanian tree ferns. I've had they were being thrown out basically. I think they were starting to spore as well. So they were basically being thrown out at work. One of the large nurseries there had them, wanted to get rid of them, and so they were just chucking them out. And I picked them out of the compost heap and brought them here, repotted them, and since then I've been growing them underneath the benches here, stood in a little bit of water, and they seem to be growing really, really well. I mean, as fast as you're going to get for tree ferns, which are notoriously slow growing, but they sit underneath here and they grow away quite happily, so that seems to be working really well. And but the plan is eventually to get them outside, because they're still using up a lot of room, and I could be putting orchids underneath here, because being at roughly the same level as the swamp cooler, as you can see, there's almost a constant breeze underneath here, so there's always air circulating. It's now 26 degrees, so it's gone up a little bit, but underneath here, where the sensor is for the humidity system, the Mist King misting system, it's actually 25 degrees underneath, so it's significantly cooler underneath the bench. Okay, so rather an unusual shot, I thought I'd show you. This is a type of Tillandsia. This is the, whatever it is, moss, Spanish moss. Grows in the trees in sort of the south of North America. And it's actually in flower at the moment. It produces these weird little green flowers. If I zoom in, ready for the obligatory camera wobble, you might actually be able to see it. See there, just centre a shot? So it's flowering. It produces loads of these little green flowers all over it, which are almost, you know, it's very easy to miss, but it's actually flowering in numerous places at the moment. And over the back, behind it, hiding, we've got Dendrobium Victoria Reginae, which has decided to produce another big fat kiki this year, but no roots on it, so I'm not going to be able to take it off of the plant, which is a real pain in the backside. I was hoping for some actual new growth, but it's produced lovely bright purple / blue flowers, and I can see there's some more flower buds emerging on some of the other canes as well, so we're going to have a nice show from that guy. Interestingly, centre of shot, we've got one of the rescue orchids here. This is this weird Oncidium with the green flowers. So this is one of the £1 orchids that, if I actually slide that out a little bit, that we rescued, and it was like a desiccated husk basically. Since then it produced 4 new flowers, but we're, like I said, because of everything that's happened, a couple of weeks behind. I was going to feature this guy particularly and do an update on the £1 orchids. It's just dropping. The flowers have basically finished. I'm sort of constantly sweeping them up at the moment to get rid of them. But that's what happened to that guy. I can already see some new growth emerging on it as well. Okay, so panning around, we can see the new orchids mounted wall, which I've just extended. Originally it ran sort of all the way along the side of the greenhouse on that side with all the plants. Since then I've moved it, and extended it, and now it currently goes all the way around the back next to the fan. A lot of these orchids are the ones I brought back from Ecuagenera. So we've got the Dryadella over here, the Poroglossum as well. That's where those guys grow. And over on this side, past the fan, we've got another Dicea up here, but also these are the Dendrochilums, Wendlandianums up there, and this is Tenellum as well down here, and they're very happy. They get just about the right amount of light there, so very, very good. Okay, right in the middle of where you guys are looking right now, whilst I bend down and pick the water sprayer up, we've got my two Dendrobium speciosums. Now we've got the typical form, which is this big guy here that I'm currently spraying. That grows in this, well, it's actually in its second basket. I actually ended up putting the first basket inside another one just because it's so big. And this one here is the guy we mounted on a piece of lava, and it's doing really well. Well, that's not really the right sort of statement. It's still alive, but is a much better statement really, because sorry for all the jigging around. I'm going to try and zoom in to show you just how porous this stone actually is. Here it is growing on the piece of lava, and the growth, the tips of the roots are extending and they've gone the right colour, and the leaves are still that sort of much darker redder colour than I would have liked, but it seems to be actively growing because the like I said, the tips of the roots are doing stuff. Just show you how porous this rock is. Unfortunately my water spray is just running out, so we'll give it a good soaking, but there's very, very little runoff. It all just sort of gets absorbed into the rock. Just goes to show how absolutely porous that is. It's ridiculous. It's soaked up almost all of that water I've just sprayed on there now. So that works very, very well. I would definitely look at doing this again. I wondered if you could cut slabs of this and then grow mounted orchids on flat slabs of this stone. That would be pretty awesome, because it's just so porous. You wouldn't need to put any media on there. No, in hindsight, probably no sphagnum moss on there, and I reckon it would grow really, really well. This little tray here has got a lot of Orchidoideae, Utricularia, so a lot of these grow up on the tepuis in places like Venezuela and stuff like that. And these guys are producing big stolons at the moment. So down where my hand is there, you can see this like adventurous shoot coming out here. I'm assuming some of these are going to bloom. They look like they've got what appear to be buds on them as well. So I'm expecting some flowering here. And they're probably going to start rooting to stuff. So I'm going to put some sphagnum moss in another pot down here, see if we can get it to root into something else. So that's Alpina. I can't remember which one this is. This is Prey Longa. This one just looks like grass. It's got like these long sort of phylloclades that it produces, these photosynthetic stems. Very unusual looking orchid. We've got Neprophylla growing in a nice tray of very fresh sphagnum moss, looking beautiful colour here. It's got a little flower spike on it as well, just by my finger. Hopefully you guys can see that if I hold that up, just there. That's a very, very one of my favourite little plants, because it's super tiny, tiny leaves in here. So very nice, very pretty. Over the back, directly in front of us, so over here, we've got my Cephalotus, which are growing very well. There's going to be some horrendous backlighting over by the window, but we're going to go in and have a look anyway. So over the back, we've got my two big trays of Cephalotus, or my big pots. They're just typical type, but they're extra massive and they're going really purple at the moment. I'm giving them a real burst of extreme sunlight at the moment before backing them off, moving them back over this way to sort of discourage the non-carnivorous leaves, which have sort of been proliferating over the winter when it's been a bit darker. Directly down here, these are all leaf pullings from Cephalotus Hummers Giant. And if I draw a comparison for you, I'll pick this guy here up, and I'll pick up some of my own leaf pullings from typical type. So if I show you, this is leaf pullings and growth from a typical Cephalotus, which I did myself. And this is the size of, this picture's been there a long time. So this picture's probably been on here for, I don't know, as many as sort of 6 months maybe. And now if I show you the not yet open picture of this guy, look at the size of that already. This isn't even open yet. So this is a typical, and this is the Hummers Giant, and this guy is much less mature than this guy on the right here. So these pictures are already going to be absolutely enormous when they're open. So I'm very excited about that. That's quite a valuable plant yet. Very valuable plant. Very happy with that. and they're growing very well. I'm just going to put those guys back before I forget to. Over there is an interesting sungene. This is Drosera rarame. So this also grows up on the tops of tepuis in places like Venezuela, Brazil, Guatemala, those sorts of areas. So very, very interesting. It gets quite tall, so the rosettes die down and it produces new growth from the top. So it sort of climbs, it ascends to create sort of a very unusual, sort of almost like a hairy stemmed plant. And that guy just sits over the back there, doesn't like getting too much light. Well, I don't give it too much light, so. Okay, so to the left of the shot here, these are the 3 Drosera capensis alba plants, which I did the experiment with the pyrethrum and the neem oil on them, and they're really great. In fact, they're all producing nice big fat flower spikes now, so all these guys are just coming into flower, and they've been absolutely fine. They're very, very little negative impact on them as a result of the experiment. I've got a very nice Drosera cunifolia. This was also infected with aphids. We had to cure the aphid infestation on this guy, and if we zoom in, we'll be able to have a really nice close-up look at that guy there. It just looks absolutely stunning. Very, very, very dewy, very pretty, very eye-pleasing plant, that one. Directly next to the Drosera cunifolia, just here, we've got Drosera hamiltonii, the only slightly damp Labrador metaphor of the carnivorous plant world, because it's not very dewy at the moment, it's quite warm in there. But here's something you're not going to see every day. It has produced an enormous flower spike, and here's the flower just up here. I'll bring this over to the camera. Hopefully we'll be able to zoom in on that and you'll be able to have a nice close-up look at it, because you don't see them every day. In fact, that is as zoomed up as we're going to get. So this is the flower of Drosera hamiltonii. Absolutely beautiful, really, really big flower. I say the flower's almost as big as the plant is, and it's a sequential bloom. Okay, so this is my Nepenthes section. A lot of my lovely, lovely plants are over here. We've got Nepenthes maxima. No, we haven't. We've got, yes we have. We've got Nepenthes maxima here, which is producing some really beautiful coloured pictures with a lovely peristome. It's a really, really nice plant, but it's gone overly red. That's too much sunlight, so I'm going to back that guy off. I've put the blinds down today anyway to sort of help combat that. If I pick you guys up and move you so you're a little bit closer to the plants, you're going to be able to see with some much better detail. So this is Nepenthes fusca here. This was used in a display I did recently, and it's got some whopping great pictures on it. Really, really nice. If I wind you down, we'll be able to have a look at those. So here's one of those more mature pictures of Nepenthes fusca. I'd say it's a very easy to grow, quite prolific Nepenthes. Produces these very fantastical patterned pictures. Really, really like this guy. Okay, I've moved you guys just over the top here so you can get a better idea. A lot of these I repotted. So this is Nepenthes jacquelinii. It's basically got no pictures on it at the moment because it was sulking and I repotted it. It's got some that are coming, but they're not quite here yet. Nice big leaf jumps though, so it's a lot happier. Hiding over the back here is Nepenthes palawanensis, which is doing really, really well. It's growing lovely, absolutely no problems with this at all. I just sort of keep it tucked behind this Nepenthes mirror over here, just give it a little bit of extra protection. Nepenthes truncata has produced an enormous picture. That's this guy just here. And also some nice big leaf jumps. There's another big picture opening up just down here. This is Nepenthes jambam, which is determined to make another picture in the truncata pot. Still got one picture left on it just here, which is I always stand it up and yet it always finds itself lying down. Slightly to the left of that we've got Nepenthes spectabilis, which has got just the prettiest colour pictures. They are absolutely stunning. They're like almost white with red spots, which is just a beauty to behold. You can see that here. There's one of these pictures here, and it's growing quite happily, and you can just see the little jamban picture over to the right. Something that I found very unusual this year, and I've only recently noticed, is my Nepenthes aristolochoides, which is this bad boy just here, has produced the most unusual coloured picture. So here's a sort of a standard picture which is on its way out. It's this sort of darker colour, and then it produced this thing. which is almost like albino. I'm assuming it's going to darken up in time, but it's very unusual in coloration, but it's definitely its biggest picture yet, so quite happy about that. There's another picture coming just by my fingers here, and another picture on its way just there as well. So nice big leaf jumps. That guy likes the full sun, but it has just produced a very, very unusual coloured picture. The albino picture, most peculiar, so I'm not sure how that one's going to pan out. And then over this side we've got two very large, or enlargening, Nepenthes loei. There's one of the pictures there. There's another one here with the unusual sort of like toothy peristome. I'm not sure if you can see that. The backlight is pretty dreadful here. So those guys are growing away very happily. Over here also like a lot of direct sunlight. It seems very, very happy doing that. Lots of big leaf jumps. So those guys are growing over there. Utricularia, bismata, Betty's Bay, all wobbling around in the sun. This thing and the wind, this guy has been in flower for simply ages and ages and ages, and it's just lovely. I'm going to put some of this up onto eBay quite soon as well, because it's just such a sweet little plant, and it flowers for flipping ages. Well, this year it has. Each one of these pots is pretty full of plants. This guy is definitely the most dominant. I'm not sure, this is like Arnold Schwarzenegger of Utricularia, this one, because it's just leaves everywhere. Okay, so in front of you we've got, this is almost like my little Pinguiclia area. This is just a little cross Tina, nothing very exciting. This is Jalma vivensis. I don't know, I can never say the name, but it's got very pretty little pinky flowers, and it keeps dropping. It's going into succulent stage, so it's formed sort of like, if I zoom you in, you'll have a better idea of what it is I'm talking about. So it went to sort of like succulent stage, and then like loads of these little leaves fell off. So I've just pulled them off and popped them in the, like here's a prime example. I'm actually try and grab it whilst on camera. That guy there's fallen off, see? So you're just left with this little leaf. So what I've been doing with those is just sticking them in there like that, in this nice moist moss like that, and the vain attempt that they'll turn into little more little Pinguiclias, but it's already divided into 3 new rosettes, both of which are now, or 2 of which are now flowering, so that's very unusual. It's a Pinguiclia morensis. This guy went into, oh my god, I don't like the weather mode, and is now coming back rather strongly. Over the back we've got, these are my, I've forgotten what they're called, Heliamphoras, and they're doing fine. I think I accidentally nicked this guy with, this is a folliculata. I'm pretty sure I accidentally wazzed it with some fertiliser out of the orchid mister when I was spraying some of the other plants. So that kind of went, oh my god, I'm going to grow really fast, and then I don't know what I'm doing with myself. So a few of the pictures died off, but there's a new growth coming out of it just there. This Pulchella is doing very, very well. Have a look at him on camera. It's doing absolutely fine. Nice healthy plant there. The other one's doing just as well, and then the folliculata I managed to zap with it with basically high nitrogen feed, which I don't think it appreciated. This is Helianthora uncinata. No, it's not, you can't see it, but there it is. Tiny little plant. I've managed to keep it alive. It's produced a new growth in the centre there, that fuzzy little growth, so we'll see how that guy gets on with its life. Hopefully it will. Brocchinia reducta, the carnivorous bromeliad, this guy here is really enjoying the warmer weather, got lots of new growth on here. A little tray of Drosera scorpioides, that's just over centre of shot here. And then over the back we've got loads of my seed grown Darlingtonia, and they go right the way along here. They're getting quite big now. You can see this one's, you know, bigger than my hand. Some of these are going to be going onto eBay as well, because I don't need this many of them growing in my greenhouse, and they go all the way behind this multi-feeder which is hanging in front of it, right the way along to there, so you get to Utricularia reniformis. And here's my Utricularia reniformis. Now this guy used in a display, and it properly hated it. It sulked, but since then it's been back. It's produced some nice new leaves. This big guy here, there's some new leaves on the way as well, so it's recovering well. I'm hoping to get some flowers off of that at some point in the not too distant future, fingers crossed. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the greenhouse today. I'm really glad that you guys have come along and I had the time to film this. I hope you've enjoyed looking at some of the stuff which is going on. There's lots of other bits and pieces, but I just don't deem them as being particularly interesting at this moment of time. However, as things become interesting, we will be having a look at them. So please bear with us, and I'll see you all again on another episode of Oliver's Greenhouse. Now, if you like my content and you want to support this, you want to enable me to purchase more plants, buy new equipment, and generally ease this financial burden which having this greenhouse is in my back garden, please feel free to go and support me over on Patreon. There's a link in this video and also in the description down below. If you've enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, like down below, and also if you feel like it and you want to see more content like this, subscribe and hit that little notification bell. That way you'll know when I do upload some stuff. So thanks for watching. See you all again soon.